Welcome back to the Scruffy Dude podcast. My name is Scruffy Dude, aka Isaac, and obviously, as y'all can see, I'm back with my same guest, Clayton, and so we're gonna talk about what just happened. What about 2 days ago or something like that?
You speaking about Jacob Blake?
Yeah, the Wisconsin shooting.
This was about a couple to a few days ago. Yeah.
Okay, so I know you. I don't know what you know, but I know from what I know about it, like we talked about before. So he was trying to break up a fight.
That's what I heard.
And with two girls and a woman, I don't know. So as he was breaking up this fight, he, I guess, started to walk away. Maybe cops in the middle there try to get his attention. And obviously they was put out their guns. So obviously they was trying to get his attention, and he continued to walk to the car.
Sure.
And then as he opened the door, they shot him in the back.
Right.
Okay.
Numerous times.
So we don't know what happened, I guess, before the camera was turned on. A lot of witnesses, said like he, obviously he didn't have anything or did anything for them to, I guess, go that far. But I mean, I like to look at it from a balanced perspective. Like obviously what the cops did was excessive. I mean, he had his back turned. If you think he was going for a gun, you could have grabbed him. You could have been grabbed him before he got to the car, like you said before.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, I would say too, if cops are trying to get your attention, you turn around and show them respect and speak to them.
The word is comply.
Yeah, like
people don't like it's a bad word now, but the word is comply.
It's like a lot of people sometimes. Well, I'm not gonna say a lot of people, but some people they like to blame cops, but then they don't comply. They may start the situation off with the cops' hype. Right. So.
Well, I'll say it's very convenient oftentimes that people tend to only grab these 5 to 6 second snippets of a situation. They don't have the whole thing. They just put the 5-6 seconds out. So then that just leaves certain people to respond to just a little bit of what they see. But then when more facts come out, then it's like, oh, so there was a whole story that led up to this, or even days before this. So yeah, man, it's a lot, man. I think about it. I think we're on the same page in the sense of the police officers. I've seen many police video where somebody's walking too fast, they've gotten tackled. Like police officers have tackled and tried to run and just tried hard to stop somebody, detain somebody, and they didn't do it this time. So, but they have their guns out saying stop. But you see, he's not stopping. So why not just grab him? So then that's already bad enough. You let him get to a place where potentially there may be a harmful weapon. You don't know.
Yeah.
But at that point, you let it go on that long.
Yeah, you let it go.
And you can still snatch him out of the truck.
Yeah.
But he opens the truck, and they put bullets in him. And
it don't even seem like he had time to even get a weapon.
Right.
It seemed like,
as soon as he opened the door, as soon as he opened the door, they start shooting. But like you said, on the other side of things, at this point, we have to hold ourselves accountable and say, people do things that also escalate situations when it comes to law enforcement. It doesn't matter what you think. The word is comply. If they ask you to do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around, or the chicken dance, whatever, if you know, or if you have a thought that they might be corrupt or they're just looking to get a rise out of you, why not just get out of that situation safely? And I'm not saying be willing to just be made a fool of or to do something that's sinful, but get out of there safely, and then there's a way to handle it. Maybe you report them, get their badge number, get their name, whatever, get the county jurisdiction. But there are just ways to go about it than to just antagonize and escalate in the situation. So.
And I learned this, man. Like you said, people escalate the situation, and some people, not everybody, but some people think they know the law, right?
Yeah.
They actually.
I know my rights.
You actually don't know the law, right? And the cops can do this and can do that. See, from what I learned, right, it's not that the cops can't do this or they can do this. Sometimes it's not about that. It's about like the cops sometimes can make a judgment call, right? So meaning they can choose to do something or they can choose not to do something, but they chose to make that decision that they made.
Right,
you know
and you're kind of, you've been around law enforcement, so you kind of know about that kind of their officers are given kind of like that, like you said, the judgment call area. It's a kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
Whereas if an officer feels like, fearful for their life,
yeah,
something might happen.
Just like what's the other thing too? I'm not trying to veer off too much,
Sure.
but what's that? That girl got killed, Breonna
Taylor, right?
Yeah, and they I guess they had a warrant.
But I think wasn't that they went to the wrong house? I think and she had nothing
I
to
think
do
they
with
did. Yeah, it's just like that. It's like people have to understand if let's say it was a drug dealer's house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a warrant where maybe they was legally able to go in there and not have to say we're police, right?
Right.
So
the no-knock warrant. I think.
Yeah. So if they did go in there and say we police, and they run in there, they get shot.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So in situations like that, like maybe again, like a lot of situations come down to like that's why in my personal opinion I think cops sometimes they have too much authority because it's areas where it's not like the law say this or that. It's like they can choose to do what they want to do and how they want to do it, and then they can justify it by like
fear for my life or
saying I was doing this warrant. The warrant said I could. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
It's
I get it. And to speak on that, man, I think you have so many people who are it's so much extremism out here, right? You have people who want to just take away all the funding from the police, which I don't agree with. I don't think you should do that. I do think we should find a way to invest more in communities and different helpful alternatives to just sending people to jail. Mm-hmm. But I don't think you have to take money away from, because not all officers are out there doing these things. We just only give attention to those who aren't doing their job. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole other conversation. But no, in terms of what you said about police authority, I think people are just sick and tired of feeling like some police officers are protected when things do go wrong. The first thing you see is administrative leave with pay, like something like that. And it's like, it just feels like, and then when they go to the courtrooms and then you see, they've been declared innocent, right? No jail time or whatever. People just feel like they're constantly let down by the justice system that they're told to call when things go wrong. So what people think, what's the point of continuing to lean on them if they're not going to really protect, right? So that's one side of things. But then on the other side of things, we got to understand that, well, okay, let me kind of backtrack real quick. I'll just say this before I get to my next point. When it comes to police officer relations, when it comes to citizens, the cost is too high for there to be an officer who goes in with the wrong mentality, makes too many mistakes, makes bad judgment calls, and really just being an officer for the wrong reasons. Like, for example, you make a mistake as a butcher, you might accidentally put the sausage where the beef should go. I don't know. You make a mistake as a teacher, you pull out the red marker instead of the blue one, right? But you make a mistake as an officer, somebody loses their life. Just like with doctors and firefighters, the mistakes you make at that level have a horrible cost. So that should mean we should have the best type of accountability and infrastructure in place in order to, if not stop as much as we can, at least minimize the damage. Just make it better, And just when it comes to police officers, well, okay, let me go back. So when it comes to the other side of things, when it comes to the citizen side of things, we have to understand that officers are people too. They're human. They do make mistakes. They're imperfect. You don't put your trust in people anyway. Police or not, you put your trust in God. But you understand that the police are sovereignly allowed to exist as a means of God executing, just, I don't want to say control, but like, just they serve, like Romans 13, they serve a purpose. They do not bear the sword in vain. No, that does not mean that God sees their corruption in the police force and is okay with it. No, officers are going to answer to God just like anybody else. But the premise of the justice system is supposed to be, upholding rightness, terror to bad conduct, not to good, right? So that's what it's supposed to be.
And I would say the issues that sometimes cops make, like in those situations where they're like shooting someone or something like that, or just doing something in that aspect, it's it's sometimes like a character issue. You know
Sure.
what I mean? It's not like a I mean, obviously you breaking the law, you
Sure.
know, to some extent, but there's loopholes or justifications they can
Yeah, of
use.
course.
But it really come down to a character issue, where these people have personal issues that they need to deal with.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Shouldn't be. Yeah, I think another brother. Oh, he actually had him on, Gregory Gray.
Mhm.
We had a conversation about this a long time ago, and just talked about how for an officer, if they feel as though they're high strung, if they're freaking out, if they're panicking, if they got like a little itchy trigger finger, either you take a break or just retire. Like I said, it goes back to the cost is too high to be making certain mistakes as a police officer. You're the face of justice in a sense when it comes to the community. They see you in blue, with your gun, your badge. There's an expectation. And when it feels like the officers are constantly allowed to kind of like shield one another from responsibility, that aids in people having a distrust for the justice system, right? And you don't even begin to talk about the actual courtrooms and getting in there with judges and whatnot. So, yeah.
So yeah, like we was talking about before this, like recently with the NBA,
Right.
they're making a boycott, to that. Well, I know now they
they're playing again now.
Yeah, they're playing again now, and so now for the rest of the season they're gonna be playing, right? So
Supposedly.
So what? They just postponed a few games and that's all.
Well, yeah, they boycotted yesterday's slate of games, and now as soon as even tomorrow, they're supposed to be playing again. So yeah,
and they're not postponing any more games.
No, not from what I understand. No, yeah.
I guess I can see like initially how that can help to some extent.
Yeah,
but it's like I guess long term when you think about like this issue is going on, like it happens all over the United States. It's like I don't know, like I don't see how they can. I think them canceling it all together can have a bigger effect.
Sure.
On the society.
It would certainly be very jarring for those who couldn't wait for sports to come back. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That would be something that would be like, because honestly, yesterday when I saw that the Rockets and Thunder called it off, it was like one response I had was like, okay, I understand it's things that are going on are bigger than basketball and they want to make a statement. But then the sports watcher, I'm like, damn. But that's the effect that you want, though. You want people to like have to be faced with the loss of something in order to understand, okay, this is a very serious thing. Not to say that we're only caring to get the sport back, but it's like, these other things that are kind of distractionary, if that's a word, should be a word. These other things that can act as distractions are removed so that now you have to look at the problem. Right? And I think the NBA, they've done a good job in just continuing the conversation. I mean, and you can say what you want about the Black Lives Matter organization, right? But if you're asking the question about how well do you think the NBA has done in trying to keep the conversation going, I think they've made that their stance. They have put Black Lives Matter everywhere, on jerseys, on sneakers, on TV commercials.
But I always say they do it when people do it when things get out of control. I feel like you're doing it because you feel like you have to, or you want to just be a part of this movement right now. But like, what about 5 years ago, 2 years ago?
What were you doing
when
then?
what was going on then? But now you're doing it because like it's more in your face now.
Be careful. Be careful. That is something. No, I say that because it makes me think about. Yeah, it's true. You hate to think about it, but there are probably a lot of these companies out here who, if they didn't feel pressured, they probably, I don't know if they do attach themselves to what's going on right now. Some probably are hands off, but because they want to look like they care. Yeah. They want to be relevant. They want to be part of the conversation. Maybe sell some more product. They do it. And then I'm not to say that about everybody who does it. There's a lot of genuine people who really do it. Yeah. But come on now, you can't look at this environment and think that every single company actually cares as deeply about the issue as they may put on.
And I get it from a financial standpoint too with the NBA. Like they had to invest money into these players, like during the COVID thing. You know, like I've been watching. Well, I was watching like some of the players' vlogs, and you see like everything the league did, you know, to get them in that bubble and everything they have there and stuff like that. So, so they put a lot of money into it. So I get why they don't want to cancel. Well, I mean, I don't know if they don't want to cancel or not, but I get why some players might not want to cancel. I don't know if I don't know how to. Like I was telling you earlier, I don't know how the money work.
Yeah.
You know, where they may be struggling for money. They may need something.
A lot of these dudes are not struggling for money, unless they're bad with money.
I think a lot of them people go broke. I was watching something the other day. Dude was in the league for 13 years. He made $55 million, and he was broke after he got out. Two of his houses was finna get taken from him.
Well, not to go too far off subject, but if we're talking about that. I mean, I seen a doc. I don't even know if it's a documentary, but it was a special on TV. I think called "Broke" a long time ago about athletes, and it's interesting. You get into that conversation, they'll tell you why it is that they went broke. Some guys outright just couldn't handle it, just spending money on frivolous things. Other people say that they were so taken advantage of by those around them to where they look up and they're bled dry.
Yeah.
So I think that. And I don't want to be callous, right? I don't want to get too far off subject. I don't want to be callous towards those with money issues because you and I both. We want to make sure we're able to provide for our families ourselves and not have money issues. But we would have to take responsibility if we spent all of our money on frivolous things, right? We can't, that's an issue on our part. If you make, let's say, $55,000 a year, budget well, live within your means as much as you can. Live within your means. Doesn't change for multi-million, almost billionaires. Live within your means. You don't have to have a $1 billion car, $1 billion house, a helipad, personal gym. You don't have to do that. You don't have to have your face plastered all over your house and your own personal basketball court with your number in the middle. You don't have to do those things. Guys, just do it because, I'm not saying it's bad to do those certain things, but it gets to a point where it's how much is too much. It gets excessive to the point where you look up and like you can't sustain that lifestyle. Yeah. Because as soon as you miss a game check, you out on your behind. Then what? Yeah. So you don't want to live that way. Anyway, to get back to our subject. But the NBA. I'm sorry. The NBA. Yeah. No, I will say this: out of the major sports leagues like NASCAR, NFL, NBA, and MLB. I'll say the NBA has been the league who has spearheaded most of these conversations. Like,
because players are predominantly black.
Well, the NFL is too, but their league is a bit slower to do certain things. They're kind of more on board now, but you can still kind of see that mentality is just not the same. Like, and I don't want to say plantation months. I don't want to say none of those things, but the NBA is much more, I guess you can say, reflective of what a certain section of society wants to do today, which is to be more inclusive, which is to eliminate a lot of these former things that held people back. The NFL is kind of late to the party. They're kind of getting there, but they're still not. I mean, no, I don't think anyone's where the NBA is. I don't. You got to think about the NBA's place in culture too. I mean, hip hop, TV, everything. Like basketball is just interwoven into culture in a way that the NFL is not, MLB is not, NASCAR is not. Hockey. Well, I said NASCAR earlier. I meant hockey as a major sport. Anyway, so yeah, man.
But yeah, I'm finna wrap it up in a little bit. So back to the ultimate point, with the guy who got shot. I actually heard. I don't know how true this is, but I think he recovered, and I think I think they I was about to say that I think they think that he may not walk again. Right. So I mean, but thank God that he didn't die. He could have died. He got shot 7 times.
Point blank range.
Yeah. So I mean, thank God for that. Ultimately, though, like I said, back to the point, like there is a lot of injustices when it comes to cops and the black community. I think when it comes to like us changing it, what do you think would help in that aspect when it comes to saying, oh yeah, we how can this change?
Man, honestly, first and foremost, I would say First and foremost, I would say we have to remember that the current form of this world is passing away.
Mm-hmm.
This world is not long. Like, it'll be here one day. Christ comes back. Everything will be made new.
Mm-hmm.
So first and foremost, I would say turn to God in order to truly find that which is life.
You talk.
Yeah. Like, stop trying to find answers in the justice system. Stop trying to find answers in man. Stop trying to do things in your own power. Christ came so that we could have eternal life, abundant life with him, that we can endure suffering, do the work of, evangelists, or just to, just be children of God, But to answer your question about change, I would have to, no, so to answer your question about what can we do to change things, I think you have to first ask the question, well, what kind of change are you looking for? What are the means by which you want this change? Because the biblical response is we want to do that which brings honor to God, which doesn't mean just sit around and pray. That doesn't mean just pray and do nothing else, right? Prayer works because God is good, but we also have actions that we're called to take, right? I mean, peaceful discussion, peaceful gatherings. Like, I would also say, we talked about this, it would be nice to see more people actually take the long-term view, right, and actually invest into communities, invested to actually going into politics for themselves, joining maybe the police force, doing other things that can actually help build up these communities and have this influx of people who actually want to see things done differently, right? Instead of always expecting for leopards to change their, spots, or expecting for old dogs to learn new tricks, right? If you know the system is bad, if you know that something needs to change from within, why not take the opportunity, whatever that may be, to actually be a part of the change, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's so many people who wants to stay on the outside and look in and just scream and holler and shout and talk about what should change. Okay, but what else are you willing to do other than post a status or hold a sign?
Yeah.
What else are you willing to do? What else are you willing to sacrifice? Go ahead. Yeah.
My fault, man.
Yeah.
I want to say this, like, a lot of people, when, like, I have heard these things from, like, somebody I know, and it's like, you go to the protest and people out there ain't, they're not approaching it in the right way. They're out here saying F the police. They're out here
stealing,
stealing, doing all this stuff. So it's like, that's not, making a difference. That's not helping.
Right.
And so I guess to back up what you said, the main thing is it is about you being saved. You getting to know Jesus, because that's when you're changed, and now your desires, hopefully, your desires will line up with God's desires, and you will want to live in a Christ-like way. You will want to live and do things that please God. So your ultimate life then would be about, how can I please God? How can I live for Him? How can I do what He wants me to do? And I think that's ultimately what people need. That's when we say, okay, how would things change? It's simple as to say Jesus. You point to Jesus and say, that's how things would change. By people becoming saved. So that means us as Christians have to, stand up and preach the gospel. Like that's ultimately how how people are saved. By hearing the word. So that's what we need to do: stand up and preach the gospel. So people can hear that and God will change them.
Well, I would say also, man, preaching and living the gospel. Like faith comes by hearing.
Did I quote that verse correctly? I didn't when I said.
Oh, I mean,
you didn't hear me?
No.
When I was saying, come, like, they, that's how people are saved, by hearing the word.
Oh, yeah. Faith comes by hearing. The thing is, man, I've seen a lot of believers on social media make an absolute fool of themselves, and just be terrible examples when it comes to how you can handle and respond to situations like this. And, it's excused, right? Oh, you got to understand how emotional of a time it is. You got to listen. There are no excuses for this. Like, as sympathetic as I can try to be, there is never a justification for you to choose evil over choosing an opportunity to serve God in your circumstance. The lost are looking for answers, and we should be giving them the truth. We should be responding in a way that shows them, hey, there is a better way. Christ is that better way. But when you put your color or your politics or, you know, your worldly wisdom over Christ, people don't see God's love. They see you, you know, and they relate to you. So they'll follow you, but they're not following Christ.
Yeah.
So that goes back to, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, people need to get it out of their minds that they want, a lot of people, because some people want justice, but other people want revenge disguised as justice, right? And revenge is not the same thing as justice. Romans 12, God says, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. You know, so, and it's not to say that we're hoping for people to experience God's vengeance over his grace. Not at all. But what we're saying is, what if society never changes for the person of color? Yeah. Cling to Christ, you know, because at the end of the day, our faith is not based in, you know, how our environment treats us. Yeah. It's based in the fact that regardless of the environment, we are loved by God. Our citizenship is in heaven, not on this earth anyway. So instead of looking for validation and approval from this world for your color or your mindset or your clothes, turn to Christ, who's already said he will accept you regardless of how you look and how you were born. You know, and it doesn't mean that it's okay for you to be treated with injustice. But what I'm saying is, your response to injustice is what matters. You know, that's what can help create real change, is when they see people who are dignified, godly, united in love, united in faith, you know. But it's one thing I would say before we wrap up that believers have to be careful of right now. The scriptures say, do not be unequally yoked. You know, like, in this time right now, you're going to have a lot of people who seem to have parallel views or an agreement over, oh, we all think this is wrong. Okay, but you have to be careful of the fact that you do not tend to lean too much towards their ideologies for life itself, because then what that does is that it's like leaven, you know, and little leaven leavens a whole lump. You start to accept the worldly ideologies of certain people in this environment. Well, what else are you willing to pursue? You know, like, you're called to be that godly example and draw them in, not for them to be outraged and you're attracted to what they're doing, and then it just goes from there, because then you're just feeding into what they're doing. They're not learning from you, like, you know, God's way of things and God's encouragement. You know, they're just looking at you as another vessel of rage, you know, disguised as godliness. So
yeah, I get
anyway,
you.
So I'm done. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, we gonna wrap up our rant. You know,
wrapping it up.
So yeah, man. If y'all like this video, thumbs up, thumbs down. You know, comment below. You know, if you like it, you know, let me know. See y'all next time.
Peace.